Lisa Martinez stepped off the transport ship and looked around in wonder. Nexus Station was huge. It was bigger than any space station she had ever seen. The walls curved high above her head and lights twinkled like stars across the metal surfaces. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked past her. Some had 4 arms, others had no arms at all. Some floated in the air while others crawled on many legs. She pulled her bag closer and checked her assignment papers again. Lisa was 28 years old, and this was her first big job as a diplomat. The Human Colonial Alliance had sent her here to make friends with other alien species. It was an important job, and she felt nervous about it. "Ms. Martinez," a voice called her name. She turned around and saw a tall man in a military uniform walking toward her. He had short brown hair and kind eyes. "Yes, that's me," Lisa said. "I'm Commander Jake Sullivan. I'm here to help you get settled." Jake shook her hand firmly. "Welcome to Nexus Station. This place can be confusing at first, but you'll learn your way around." They walked through long hallways filled with aliens. Jake pointed out different species as they passed. "Those tall blue ones are from the water planet Aquarius. The small fuzzy ones are traders from the Outer Rim. And those crystal beings over there are the Solare. They're very advanced but keep to themselves mostly." Lisa tried to remember everything Jake told her. There were so many different types of aliens that her head started to spin. Finally, they reached a large room with many tables and chairs. The smell of food from dozens of different worlds filled the air. "This is the diplomatic dining hall," Jake explained. "All the important meetings happen here. Species from across the galaxy come here to eat and talk business." An insect-like alien approached them. It had 6 legs and large compound eyes that reflected the light. When it spoke, its voice buzzed like a bee. "Welcome to Nexus Station, human diplomat," the alien said. "I am Zixth, the station administrator. We have prepared everything for your stay." "Thank you," Lisa said politely. "I'm looking forward to working here." Zixth's antennae twitched nervously. "Yes, well, we have assigned you table 47 for your meals and meetings. It is a very good table, very prestigious location." Lisa noticed that Zixth's voice changed when he mentioned table 47. The alien sounded worried about something. She looked around the dining hall and saw that it was filled with aliens eating and talking, but she couldn't see which table was number 47. "Where is table 47? She asked. Zixth pointed to a corner of the room. Lisa saw a table sitting alone with no one around it. The table looked normal enough, but none of the other aliens seemed to want to sit near it. In fact, there was a wide empty space around the table. "Why is no one sitting there?" Lisa asked. Jake and Zixith exchanged a look. The administrator's antennae drooped down. "The last humans who were assigned to that table..." Zixith paused. "They disappeared 3 months ago." "Disappeared?" Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean, disappeared?" "Ambassador Peter Collins and his team were having dinner at table 47, Jake explained. "The security cameras show them sitting there eating and talking." Then the cameras went fuzzy for a few minutes. When the picture came back, they were gone. "Gone where?" Lisa asked. "That's just it." Zixith buzzed nervously. "We don't know. There are no records of them leaving the station. No transport ships took them away. No airlocks were opened. They just vanished." Lisa stared at the empty table. It looked perfectly normal, just like all the other tables in the dining hall, but something about it made her feel uneasy. "Maybe I should sit at a different table," she suggested. "No," Zixith said quickly. "Table 47 is reserved for human diplomats. It has been your species' assigned location for many years. To change it now would cause problems with the other diplomatic missions." Jake frowned. "Are you sure it's safe?" "Of course it's safe," Zixith insisted, but his voice didn't sound very confident. "The disappearance was probably just a mistake in the records. Yes, that must be it." Lisa wasn't convinced, but she knew that diplomacy was about following rules and traditions. If table 47 was the human table, then that's where she would sit. "I'll take table 47, she decided. Zixith's eyes widened. "Are you certain?" "Perhaps we could make an exception." "I'm certain," Lisa said firmly. "If that's where humans are supposed to sit, then that's where I'll sit." They walked over to table 47. As they got closer, Lisa noticed that the air felt different somehow. It was hard to explain, but it felt thicker, like walking through water. She also thought she heard a faint humming sound, but when she listened carefully, she couldn't hear anything. "The table is set for you," Zixith said, gesturing to the chairs. "Meals are served every few hours, Galactic Standard Time. Just take a seat whenever you're hungry." Lisa sat down in one of the chairs. It was comfortable enough, but she immediately felt a strange tingling sensation, like tiny electric shocks running up and down her arms. She looked at her hands and saw that the hair on her arms was standing up. "Did you feel that?" she asked Jake. "Feel what?" Jake sat down across from her and looked normal. "I don't feel anything unusual." Lisa pulled out her small scanner, a device that all human diplomats carried to check for dangerous radiation or toxins. When she turned it on, the numbers on the screen started jumping around wildly. The scanner beeped and showed readings she had never seen before. "That's strange," she muttered. "What is it?" Jake leaned forward to look at the scanner. "The energy readings are all wrong. It's like there's some kind of field around this table." Lisa stood up and walked a few steps away. The scanner readings returned to normal. She walked back to the table and the strange readings started again. "We should report this," Jake said. "Report what? That my scanner is acting up? They'll just say it needs to be fixed." Lisa turned off the scanner and put it away. "Besides, if I start complaining about the table on my first day, it won't look very good." A server alien approached their table. It looked like a large purple octopus walking on two of its tentacles while using the others to carry food trays. "Welcome, honored diplomat," the server said in a melodic voice. "What would you like to eat?" Lisa ordered something that looked like chicken and vegetables. As she ate, she kept feeling the strange tingling sensation. She also noticed that other aliens in the dining hall kept looking at her table, then quickly looking away when she noticed them watching. When she finished eating, Lisa felt tired. It had been a long day of travel and new experiences. "I think I'll go to my quarters and rest," she told Jake. As they walked away from table 47, Lisa turned back to look at it one more time. For just a moment, she thought she saw a shadowy figure sitting in one of the empty chairs, but when she blinked and looked again, the table was empty. "Did you see that?" she asked Jake. "See what?" Lisa decided not to mention it. Maybe she was just tired from the long journey, but as they left the dining hall, she couldn't shake the feeling that something very strange was happening at table 47. Lisa woke up the next morning feeling curious about the missing humans. She couldn't stop thinking about Ambassador Peter Collins and his team. What had happened to them? Why did everyone seem so nervous about table 47? After breakfast in her quarters, she decided to do some research. Lisa went to the station's main computer center and asked to see the files about the missing diplomats. "I'm sorry," said the computer technician, a small gray alien with large black eyes. "Those files are marked as classified. Only security personnel can access them." "I'm the new human diplomat," Lisa explained. "I'm sitting at the same table where they disappeared. Don't you think I should know what happened?" The technician looked nervous. I cannot help you. Please speak to Commander Sullivan or Administrator Zixith." Lisa found Jake in the security office. He was looking at screens showing different parts of the station. "Jake, I need to see the files about the missing humans," she said. Jake turned around in his chair. "Lisa, I don't think that's a good idea. Sometimes it's better not to know too much about these things." "But they disappeared from my table. What if the same thing happens to me?" Jake sighed. "All right, but don't blame me if you don't like what you find." He typed commands into his computer and pulled up the files. Lisa read them carefully. Ambassador Peter Collins had been 45 years old and very experienced. His team included Dr. Amy Foster, a scientist who studied space and time. There was also Roy Carter, who fixed machines, and Beth Adams, who handled communications. They were working on something big, Lisa said as she read. It says here they were trying to make peace between the Solari and the Veil Collective. Those two species have been fighting for decades, Jake explained. If Collins could have stopped their war, it would have saved millions of lives. Lisa kept reading. The report said that Collins and his team had been very excited about something they discovered. But the files didn't say what it was. Look at this. Lisa pointed to the screen. 3 days before they disappeared, Collins sent a message to Earth. But it's encrypted and no one has been able to read it. The encryption is too advanced, Jake said. Our best computer experts can't crack it. Lisa made copies of all the files she could access. Then she went back to the dining hall for lunch. As she sat down at table 47, the strange tingling feeling started again. This time it was stronger. She pulled out her scanner and watched the readings jump around. But something else happened too. For just a moment, all the sounds in the dining hall seemed to fade away. Then she heard voices, but they sounded far away and unclear. Help. Trapped. The bridge. Lisa looked around, but no one else seemed to hear anything. The other aliens were eating and talking normally. Did someone say something about a bridge? She asked a nearby alien who looked like a walking tree. The tree alien's leaves rustled. No, human diplomat. I heard nothing about bridges. Lisa finished her meal quickly and went to find Dr. Amy Foster's old quarters. The room was still sealed by security, but Jake helped her get inside. The room was neat and clean, but Lisa could tell that someone had searched through everything. She looked through the desk drawers and found some notes written in Amy's handwriting. Bridge protocol, Lisa read aloud. Dimensional variance detected. Core systems show energy patterns unlike anything in our databases. What do you think it means? Jake asked. I don't know, but Amy was a scientist. She wouldn't write something like this unless it was important. Lisa found a small device hidden behind Amy's computer. It looked like a communication device, but it was unlike any technology she had seen before. When she picked it up, it suddenly came to life. A holographic image appeared in the air above the device. It was Dr. Amy Foster, but she looked pale and worried. If you're seeing this message, then you must be the new human diplomat, Amy's image said. My name is Amy Foster. I'm alive, but I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Lisa gasped. Jake, are you seeing this? Jake stared at the hologram with his mouth open. Amy's message continued. We're not dead, but we're not in the same place anymore. Table 47 is dangerous, but it's also the only way to reach us. The station is built around something very old and very powerful, something that can move people between different versions of reality. The hologram flickered and started to fade. Don't trust everyone on the station. Some of the aliens know what happened to us and they're not trying to help. If you want to rescue us, you have to understand the bridge protocol. But be careful. If you're not prepared, you might end up trapped like us. The message ended and the device went dark. Lisa and Jake sat in silence for a long moment. Different versions of reality? Jake finally said. That sounds impossible. Maybe not, Lisa said. Amy was one of the smartest scientists in the Human Alliance. If she says it's possible, then maybe it is. Lisa decided to learn more about the station itself. She spent the rest of the day in the library, reading about Nexus Station's history. She learned that the station had been built around something called an architect artifact. The architects were an ancient alien species that had vanished millions of years ago, but they had left behind mysterious technology. That evening, Lisa returned to Table 47 for dinner. This time she paid careful attention to everything that happened. As soon as she sat down, the tingling feeling started. But she also noticed other things. The lights around the table seemed to flicker in a pattern. The conversations at nearby tables sounded different, like they were being played backwards, and when she looked at her reflection in her water glass, she saw someone else's face looking back at her. This is definitely not normal, she whispered to herself. During her meal, she saw movement out of the corner of her eye. When she turned to look, she saw a figure sitting at the empty chair across from her. It was a man with gray hair and a kind face. He was wearing a diplomatic uniform. Ambassador Collins? Lisa whispered. The figure seemed to hear her. He turned toward her and his mouth moved like he was trying to say something. But no sound came out. He reached across the table toward her, but his hand passed right through the water glasses without touching them. Lisa blinked hard and the figure was gone. I'm not imagining this, she said to herself. Something is really happening here. After dinner, Lisa met with Jake in a quiet corner of the station. I saw him, she told Jake. I saw Ambassador Collins sitting at Table 47. Lisa, that's impossible. He's been missing for 3 months, I know what I saw. And Amy's message said they're still alive, just not in the same place. What if they're in a different version of reality, like she said? Jake looked worried. Even if that's true, how could we help them? I don't know yet. But I'm going to figure it out. Lisa pulled out the strange device she had found in Amy's room. This might be the key. Amy said it was connected to something called the Bridge Protocol. Lisa, this is getting dangerous. Maybe we should contact Earth and ask for help. By the time help arrives from Earth, it might be too late. Besides, what would we tell them? That we think our people are trapped in another dimension? They'd think we're crazy. Lisa stood up with determination. I'm going to keep investigating. And tomorrow I'm going to sit at Table 47 again and see what happens. Jake grabbed her arm gently. Promise me you'll be careful. I don't want to lose you too. I promise, Lisa said. But I can't just ignore this. Those people are counting on someone to help them. As Lisa walked back to her quarters, she thought about everything she had learned. Table 47 was definitely connected to something strange and powerful. The missing humans were somehow still alive but trapped somewhere else, and some of the aliens on the station knew more than they were saying. Tomorrow she would have to be braver than she had ever been before, because if Amy Foster was right, Table 47 wasn't just a place where people disappeared, it was a doorway to somewhere else entirely. Lisa spent the next morning studying everything she could find about the architects. The ancient aliens had built amazing technology, but then they had vanished without any explanation. Most of their artifacts were found on dead planets, covered by millions of years of dust. But Nexus Station was different. It had been built around a living architect artifact that was still working. The station records say the artifact creates dimensional bridges. Lisa read from her computer screen. But no one knows exactly what that means. She called Jake to her quarters and showed him what she had found. "Look at this diagram," she said, pointing to her screen. "The station's power core isn't really a power core at all. It's the architect artifact, and Table 47 is built right above the main access point." Jake studied the diagram. "So you're saying Table 47 is like a doorway?" "More than that. I think it's a doorway between different versions of reality." Amy's message said they were trapped in a different version of this place. Lisa pulled up more files. "I found something else." 3 days before Ambassador Collins disappeared, the station's sensors detected unusual energy patterns coming from the artifact. The patterns were strongest around Table 47. "What kind of energy patterns?" "The kind that suggests someone was using the artifact deliberately." Lisa turned to face Jake. "I don't think Collins and his team disappeared by accident. I think someone made it happen." Jake frowned. "Who would do that? And why?" Before Lisa could answer, her communication device beeped. She had a message from Administrator Zixth asking her to come to his office immediately. When Lisa and Jake arrived at the administrative section, they found Zixth pacing nervously around his office. His antennae were twitching rapidly. "There have been complaints," Zixth buzzed. "Other diplomatic missions are worried about the energy readings coming from Table 47. They say it's getting stronger." "Stronger how?" Lisa asked. "The ethereal wisps can sense temporal distortions. They say reality is becoming unstable around your table." Zixith's compound eyes reflected the office lights. "Perhaps it would be better if you took your meals in your quarters for a while." "No," Lisa said firmly. "I need to keep using Table 47. I'm close to figuring out what happened to the missing humans." Zixith's antennae drooped. "I was afraid you would say that." "Afraid? Why are you afraid?" The administrator was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed. A sound like air escaping from a balloon. "Because some of us know more about the bridge protocol than we have told you," he admitted. "The architect artifact doesn't just create dimensional bridges randomly. It can be controlled." Lisa felt her heart racing. Controlled by who? The Solare have been studying architect technology for decades. A group of them discovered how to manipulate the artifact 3 months ago. The Solare made Collins disappear? Jake's voice was angry. "Not all Solare," Zixith said quickly. "Only a small faction. They are not from this reality originally. They are refugees from a parallel dimension, where their war with the Veil Collective destroyed most of their worlds." Lisa sat down heavily in a chair. "So they're using the bridge protocol to escape to our dimension?" "Worse than that. They want to bring their armies through and start their war over again here. Ambassador Collins discovered their plan and was going to expose them. So they trapped him and his team in the parallel dimension." "Why didn't you tell us this before?" Jake demanded. Zixith's entire body trembled. "Because the rogue Solare threatened to destroy the station if anyone interfered with their plans. Nexus Station is home to millions of beings. I could not risk their lives." Lisa stood up and started pacing. "So Collins and his team are alive but trapped in a parallel version of Nexus Station?" "Yes. The rogue Solari can't kill them because humans seem to have some kind of natural resistance to dimensional displacement." "But they can't let them return either." "What do you mean, natural resistance?" "Human brains process dimensional shifts differently than other species. That's why you can see and hear things at Table 47 that others cannot. It's also why the missing humans have survived in the parallel dimension when other species would have been destroyed." Lisa felt pieces of the puzzle clicking together in her mind. "That's why Amy could send a message across dimensions, and why I can see Ambassador Collins sometimes." "Exactly. Humans are uniquely suited to navigate between realities. Jake crossed his arms. So what can we do about it? Zixith pulled up a holographic display showing the station's layout. The rogue Solari have taken control of the artifact's main systems. They are preparing to open large dimensional bridges to bring their armies through. But if someone could reach the parallel dimension and help the trapped humans escape, they might be able to stop the invasion from the other side. You want Lisa to cross over to the parallel dimension? Jake shook his head. That's too dangerous. It might be the only way, Lisa said quietly. If I can reach Collins and his team, maybe we can work together to fix this. But how would you get back? Jake asked, I don't know yet. But Amy's message said I had to understand the bridge protocol. Maybe if I learn enough about how it works, I can control it myself. That afternoon, Lisa returned to Amy Foster's quarters and searched more carefully. Hidden inside an old book, she found detailed notes about the architect technology. The artifact responds to focused thought patterns, Lisa read aloud. Human consciousness seems particularly compatible with its operating systems. Successful dimensional bridging requires clear intention and emotional stability. She also found a hand-drawn map showing secret passages through the station that led to the artifact's core chamber. Amy was planning something, Lisa realized. She wasn't just studying the technology, she was preparing to use it. That evening, Lisa sat at table 47 again. But this time, she didn't just wait for things to happen. She focused her mind and tried to make contact with the parallel dimension. The tingling sensation grew stronger. The air around the table started to shimmer like heat waves. And then suddenly, she could see them clearly. Ambassador Collins was sitting across from her, along with Dr. Amy Foster and the rest of his team. They looked tired and worried, but they were definitely alive. Lisa, Amy's voice came through faintly. You can see us. I can see you, but I can barely hear you, Lisa replied, hoping they could hear her too. Collins leaned forward. The rogue Solari are almost ready to open the main bridges. You have to stop them from this side while we work on the problem from here. How do I get to you? Lisa asked. The core chamber, Amy said. You have to access the artifact directly. But be careful. The Solari have guards, and they know you're investigating. The connection started to fade. Wait, Lisa called out. How do I control the artifact? Amy's voice was getting weaker. Trust your instincts. Human minds are naturally compatible. Just focus on where you want to go and... The voices disappeared and Lisa was alone at table 47 again. But now she knew what she had to do. She found Jake and told him everything she had learned. The core chamber is heavily guarded, Jake said after looking at Amy's map. How are we supposed to get past the Solari? I don't think we can avoid a confrontation, Lisa said. But maybe we don't have to. If I can just get close enough to the artifact to make contact with it. This is insane, Jake muttered. We're talking about infiltrating an alien conspiracy and jumping between dimensions. I know it sounds crazy, but think about what happens if we don't try. The rogue Solari bring their armies through and start a war that could destroy both dimensions. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. All right, but we do this smart. No unnecessary risks, Lisa smiled. When have I ever taken unnecessary risks? Jake raised an eyebrow. Do you really want me to answer that? As they planned their approach to the core chamber, Lisa felt a mixture of fear and excitement. Tomorrow, she would attempt something that no human had ever done before. She would try to cross between realities and rescue her fellow diplomats. But she also knew that the fate of both dimensions might depend on whether she succeeded. Lisa and Jake spent hours studying Amy's map of the station. The secret passages were old maintenance tunnels that most people had forgotten about. According to Amy's notes, they led directly to the core chamber where the architect artifact was kept. We'll have to move at night when fewer people are around, Jake said, and we'll need to avoid the main security checkpoints. What about the Solari guards? Lisa asked. I've been watching their patrol patterns. They change shifts every 6 hours. If we time it right, we can slip past them during the changeover. Lisa checked her equipment one more time. She had her scanner, a small light, and the communication device she had found in Amy's room. She hoped it would help her make contact with the artifact. They waited until the middle of the night shift when most of the station was quiet. Then they made their way to the first maintenance tunnel entrance. Jake used his security codes to open the door. Are you sure about this? He asked as they stepped into the dark tunnel. No, Lisa admitted, but I'm sure that we have to try. The tunnels were narrow and filled with pipes and cables. They had to crawl in some places and squeeze through tight spaces in others. After an hour of difficult progress, they reached a junction where 3 tunnels met. According to the map, the core chamber should be just ahead, Jake whispered. They could hear voices coming from the direction they needed to go. Lisa recognized the crystal-like tones of Solare's speech, but she couldn't understand what they were saying. Jake pulled out a small device that looked like a pair of headphones. "Translation unit," he explained quietly. "Let's see what they're talking about." The voices became clear in their ears. "The dimensional bridges are almost stable," one Solare was saying. "Our advance forces can begin crossing within hours." "Good," replied another voice. "The humans in the parallel dimension have been trying to interfere with our work, but they cannot stop us from here." "What about the new human diplomat? Should we deal with her like we did the others?" "Not yet. Moving her to the parallel dimension might alert the station authorities. We will handle her after our armies arrive." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. The Solare were planning to trap her just like they had trapped Collins and his team. Jake touched her shoulder and pointed ahead. Through a small window in the tunnel wall, they could see into the core chamber. It was a huge circular room with a glowing crystal structure in the center. The crystal was beautiful but alien, with patterns of light flowing through it like liquid. 3 Solare guards stood around the crystal. They looked like living statues made of colored glass, but they moved with deadly grace. "How do we get past them?" Lisa whispered. "We don't," Jake said. "I'll create a distraction while you go for the artifact." "Jake, that's too dangerous. I'm a soldier, Lisa. This is what I do." Jake checked his weapon. "Just get to that crystal and do whatever you need to do." Before Lisa could argue, Jake was already moving. He crawled toward a different section of the tunnel while Lisa watched through the window. Suddenly, alarms started blaring throughout the station. Jake had triggered a security alert in a different part of the facility. The Solare guards received messages on their communication devices, and 2 of them ran off to investigate. That left only 1 guard in the core chamber. Lisa found an access panel and used Jake's security codes to open it. She dropped down into the chamber as quietly as she could. The remaining guard had his back to her as he monitored the security alerts. The crystal artifact was even more beautiful up close. It was about 10 feet tall and covered with patterns that seemed to move and change as she watched. When she got within a few feet of it, she felt the same tingling sensation she experienced at table 47, but much stronger. She pulled out Amy's communication device and held it near the crystal. Immediately, the device came to life and Amy's voice filled the chamber. "Lisa, you made it to the core." The Solare guard spun around and saw Lisa. He raised his weapon, but Amy's voice distracted him. "The artifact responds to direct contact," Amy said urgently. "Place your hands on the crystal and focus on crossing over to our dimension." Lisa ran toward the crystal. The guard fired an energy blast that missed her by inches. She reached out and placed both hands on the smooth surface of the artifact. The moment her skin touched the crystal, everything changed. Reality seemed to fold in on itself. Colors swirled around her and she felt like she was falling through space. The core chamber faded away and she found herself floating in a place between dimensions. She could see 2 versions of Nexus Station existing in the same space, but slightly out of phase with each other. In one version, Jake was fighting with station security forces against the Solare. In the other version, she could see Ambassador Collins and his team working frantically at computer terminals. Lisa focused her mind on the second version and felt herself being pulled toward it. She landed hard on the floor of what looked like the same core chamber, but everything was slightly different. The lights were dimmer, the walls were a different color, and the crystal artifact had cracks running through it. "Lisa," Amy Foster ran over and helped her stand up. "You actually did it." "You crossed over." Lisa looked around and saw Ambassador Collins, Roy Carter, and Beth Adams. They all looked tired and stressed, but they were definitely alive. "We don't have much time," Collins said. "The rogue Solare have damaged the artifact in this dimension to prevent us from returning. But they're using it to open large bridges to your dimension. How do we stop them?" Lisa asked. Amy led her to a computer terminal. "We've been working on a way to reverse the bridge process, but we need someone on your side to activate the shutdown sequence at the same time we activate it here. Jake is still in my dimension." "Can he do it?" "If he can get back to the core chamber, yes." Roy Carter looked up from another computer. "But the Solare armies are already starting to cross over. We're running out of time." Lisa pulled out her communication device. "Jake, can you hear me?" Static filled the air, then Jake's voice came through weakly. "Lisa, where are you?" "The core chamber is empty, and there are Solaray soldiers all over the station. I'm in the parallel dimension with the missing team. You need to get back to the crystal artifact and help us shut down the bridges. The whole place is crawling with hostile aliens. How am I supposed to get back there?" Ambassador Collins took the device. "Commander Sullivan, this is Ambassador Collins. I know the situation looks impossible, but you're the only one who can help us save both dimensions." "Ambassador, you're alive." "Yes, but not for much longer if those armies complete their crossing. You need to find a way back to the artifact." Beth Adams called out from her station. "I'm detecting massive energy surges. They're opening the main dimensional bridges now." Through the damaged crystal, Lisa could see what was happening in her dimension. Dozens of Solaray warships were materializing in the space around Nexus Station. The rogue Solaray had brought their entire military force through the dimensional bridges. "Jake, you have to hurry." Lisa called into the device. "I'm trying." "But there are guards everywhere." Amy grabbed Lisa's arm. "There might be another way. If you can make contact with the artifact from this side while Jake touches it from his side, the combined human brain patterns might be enough to override the Solari control systems." "What do I need to do?" "Place your hands on the crystal again and focus on shutting down the bridges. But be warned, if something goes wrong, you might be trapped between dimensions forever." Lisa looked at the cracked crystal artifact. It was sparking with unstable energy and looked like it might explode at any moment. "Jake," she said into the communication device, "when I count to 3, put your hands on the crystal in your dimension. Ready?" "Ready as I'll ever be," Jake replied. Lisa walked up to the damaged artifact. The other human stepped back to give her room. "1," she said, placing her hands near the crystal surface. Through the dimensional static, she could see Jake fighting his way through Solaray guards to reach the artifact in his dimension. "2," she said, her palms touching the warm crystal. Energy coursed through her body like lightning. She could feel the artifact's consciousness touching her mind, ancient and vast and incredibly powerful. 3. Lisa pressed her hands firmly against the crystal and focused all her thoughts on stopping the dimensional bridges. At the same moment, she felt Jake's presence as he made contact with the artifact in the other dimension. The crystal exploded with light, and reality began to change around them. When the light faded, Lisa found herself in a place that was neither dimension. She was floating in a space filled with swirling colors and impossible geometry. Jake was floating beside her, looking confused but determined. "Where are we?" he asked. "I think we're inside the artifact's consciousness," Lisa replied. "We're connected directly to the architect technology now." Around them, Lisa could see the dimensional bridges like glowing pathways stretching between different versions of reality. Solari warships were moving through the bridges like dark shadows, bringing weapons and soldiers to invade her dimension. But she could also see something else. The bridges weren't just connecting 2 dimensions. There were dozens of them, maybe hundreds, linking to different versions of reality, where different choices had been made and different outcomes had occurred. The architects didn't build this technology for war, Lisa realized. They built it for communication and understanding. The Solari have been using it wrong. Jake pointed to the invasion fleet. "Well, they're definitely using it for war now. How do we stop them?" Lisa reached out with her mind and touched the flow of energy controlling the bridges. Immediately, she understood how the technology worked. It responded to conscious thought, but human minds process the information differently than other species. "Jake, I can feel what makes humans different," she said. "Other species think in straight lines, but humans think in patterns and connections. We can see possibilities that others miss. That's great, but how does it help us?" Lisa focused on the dimensional bridges. Instead of simply shutting them down, she began to modify them. She could feel the artifact responding to her thoughts, reshaping the pathways between realities. "I'm not going to close the bridges," she said. "I'm going to redirect them." Using her natural human ability to see patterns and connections, Lisa began routing the Solari warships to empty dimensions where they couldn't hurt anyone. The invasion fleet found themselves scattered across dozens of different realities, lost and unable to find their way back. But that wasn't enough. The rogue Solari would just try again with more ships and better preparation. Lisa had a better idea. She opened new bridges. But these ones led to dimensions where the war between the Solare and the Veil Collective had ended peacefully. She connected the rogue Solare with versions of themselves who had learned to make peace instead of war. "What are you doing?" Jake asked as he watched the bridges reshape themselves. "I'm showing them another way," Lisa explained. "Every choice creates a new reality. Somewhere out there are versions of these aliens who chose peace instead of war. Maybe if they meet each other, they can learn." Through the artifact's consciousness, Lisa could see the rogue Solare meeting their peaceful counterparts. At first there was confusion and suspicion, but gradually, as the different versions of the same species talked to each other, understanding began to grow. In the parallel dimension where Ambassador Collins and his team were trapped, Lisa opened a bridge directly back to their home reality. She guided them safely through the dimensional pathways until they materialized in the core chamber of their own Nexus station. "Lisa," Amy Foster's voice came through the dimensional static. "The bridges are stabilizing. Whatever you're doing, it's working." But Lisa wasn't finished yet. She could see that the damaged artifact in the parallel dimension was still unstable. If it exploded, it could destroy both realities. Working together with Jake, she used the combined power of their human minds to repair the damaged crystal. The artifact in the parallel dimension stopped sparking and began to glow with steady, healthy light. "I think I understand now," Lisa said as she worked. "Humans aren't just good at using this technology. We're good at fixing it. The architects probably intended for someone like us to eventually take care of their artifacts." With the bridges stabilized and the artifacts repaired, Lisa began the most important part of her plan. Instead of limiting the dimensional bridges to just two realities, she opened carefully, controlled pathways between dozens of different dimensions. "A communication network," she explained to Jake. "Species from different realities can talk to each other and learn from different versions of themselves. They can see what happens when they choose war, and what happens when they choose peace." Lisa guided herself and Jake back to their own dimension. They materialized in the core chamber to find Ambassador Collins and his team standing there, along with a very relieved Administrator Zixth. "Ms. Martinez," Zixth buzzed excitedly. "The Solari invasion fleet has vanished, and we're receiving communication signals from dozens of previously unknown dimensions." Lisa sat down heavily in a chair. Using the artifact had been exhausting, but she felt satisfied with what they had accomplished. "The rogue Solare aren't gone," she explained. "They're talking to peaceful versions of themselves from other dimensions. Hopefully they'll learn that there are better ways to solve their problems than war." Ambassador Collins shook her hand. "On behalf of the Human Colonial Alliance, I want to thank you for rescuing my team. But more than that, I want to thank you for finding a solution that nobody else could have imagined." Dr. Amy Foster was examining the readings from her scientific instruments. "Lisa, what you've done with the dimensional bridges is incredible. You've created a stable network that connects multiple realities while keeping each one safe from the others." "It wasn't just me," Lisa said, looking at Jake. "Humans work better as a team. That's another thing that makes us different from other species." Over the following days, Lisa worked with Amy and the other scientists to establish protocols for using the dimensional network safely. Representatives from other species came to study the new technology, but they all agreed that humans should be the primary operators. "Your minds are naturally suited for this kind of work," explained a Veil Collective ambassador who had come through one of the bridges. "In our dimension, humans and the Solare worked together to end our war centuries ago. It is fitting that humans in this dimension should help end our war as well." Lisa found herself appointed as the first dimensional ambassador, with Table 47 as her official workspace. The table that had once been a place of mysterious disappearances became the center of the most important diplomatic work in known space. She held meetings with leaders from dozens of different realities, helping them share knowledge and learn from each other's experiences. Species that had been enemies for thousands of years discovered versions of themselves that had become close allies. "It's amazing what people can accomplish when they see all the possibilities," Lisa told Jake one evening as they sat at Table 47. "The architects understood that. That's why they built this technology," Jake smiled. "And it took a human diplomat to figure out how to use it properly." "Not just any human," Lisa corrected him. "It took someone who was stubborn enough to sit at a table that everyone said was dangerous." Administrator Zixith approached their table, carrying a formal document. "Ms. Martinez," he said, The Galactic Cooperative Council has voted unanimously to establish the Human Dimensional Initiative. You will be provided with whatever resources you need to expand the dimensional communication network. Lisa accepted the document. Thank you, but I have one condition. The network has to be open to everyone. No species gets excluded, no matter what they've done in the past. Everyone deserves a chance to learn and grow. Agreed, Zixith said. After all, it was giving the rogue Solare a chance to learn that solved this crisis. As the weeks passed, Lisa watched the dimensional network grow and flourish. Scientists shared discoveries across realities. Artists collaborated on projects that spanned multiple dimensions. Former enemies became friends as they learned from versions of themselves that had made different choices. And at the center of it all was Table 47, where Lisa held court as the dimensional ambassador. The table that had once made people disappear had become the most important seat in the galaxy. One evening, as Lisa finished a particularly challenging negotiation between 3 different versions of the same alien species, Amy Foster joined her for dinner. "Do you ever regret taking this job?" Amy asked. Lisa looked around the dining hall, which was now filled with beings from dozens of different realities, all talking and learning from each other. "Never," she said. "This is exactly where I'm supposed to be." Jake appeared at their table carrying a report from Earth. "The Human Colonial Alliance wants to know if you need any help," he said. "They're offering to send a whole team of diplomats to assist with the dimensional network." Lisa shook her head. "Tell them thanks, but we're doing fine with the team we have. Sometimes the best solutions come from the smallest groups." As the night shift began and the dining hall grew quieter, Lisa reflected on everything that had happened. She had come to Nexus Station as a nervous young diplomat, afraid of taking her first big assignment. Now she was responsible for maintaining peace across multiple dimensions. But she had learned something important about humanity along the way. Humans weren't special because they were stronger or smarter than other species. They were special because they could see connections and possibilities that others missed. They could find solutions where others saw only problems. And sometimes that was exactly what the galaxy needed. Table 47 would never again be a place where people,